So good to see you guys, FSM. I'm so glad that we are back at it. It just feels like forever since we've kind of been together. Well, Happy New Year 2020. Hopefully there's some exciting adventures and trips planned for each of you, maybe whether it's locally, over the U.S. or globally. I'm a big fan of traveling. I don't know about you guys. Whether it's maybe reading more, or whether it's, I don't know, fill in the blank. There's something that you want to do to make sure you do in 2020. And so this year, I'm excited for the start of our new series. It's called Summer Vibes, as you can see. And you're like, Coert, it's not summer. And you're right, you're totally right. It is winter still. But here's the thing, I want to kind of just set up the series as we go into these next 4 weeks. When we think of this idea of summer vibes, a lot of times, and when you get older, you're going to talk more and more about this. Maybe not right now, but there might even be some startup conversations you've had with your parents or somebody that you trust, maybe even a peer, or even when a teacher's talked about it and they've said, who do you want to be? What do you want to do? And so it's kind of this idea of like, what do you want to be, or who do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years down the road? And we, as a staff, when we looked at this topic, we just said, how can we bring that to a smaller scale? So Summer Vibes came in our mind saying, how can we, from 2020, in the beginning of this year, how can we be the people we want to be in summer, starting now? And what does it take to do and to be that person? And because we're all striving to be somebody or something and have some type of identity of people to know or approve us of who we are. You know, and the start of it is a topic that's been pressing on my heart for many, many years. More years than I probably want to admit that I've been avoiding. And this is this idea of stress and busyness. Now, when I talk about stress and busyness, there's this thing that I want to kind of highlight, time. When I say the word time, I'm going to say time is, and I want you to shout out, filling in the blank what you think time is. And so please be loud so that I can hear you, but clear. So time is stressful. It's a waste. Precious. Time is money. Did you say time is Jumanji? What else? Time is what? What is that? Time is lies. Time is life. Life. Value. Time is valuable. Okay. Time is fake. Oh, okay. All right. Hey, those are some really, really good responses as we kind of want to bring it right back to this time. And I really wanted to get your opinion and your thoughts on what time is. We'll come back to that in a moment, but I wanted you guys to kind of think back in your head of what time is to you. How many of you have ever been in a hurry? Yes, okay. I was like, am I the only one? Okay, good. Okay, you can put your hand down. Yes, I have been in a hurry too many times. I can't even count how many times. And there's one specific time that I do remember this vividly. When I was a freshman in college, I went to a school called Liberty University, which is stationed in Virginia. And I didn't finish there, but my first semester, that was where I was. And so I had the privilege to room with my best friend from basically when I was a kid. And so Sean and I, we are going to a school that's a little strict. It has some rules, and so one of the rules was curfew. So by midnight, you had to be back to your dorm room. And, not everyone likes that, but in this Christian college, that's exactly what they did. And so we were on winter break. And so we head back. I'm up from New Jersey. And so we're there. We're spending time with family. And there's that few days left before we have to head back from winter break to school. Now, most schools, you could probably head back in the morning and get there for your next class, whatever you want to do. Or you can head back and do an all-nighter and do whatever you want to do. But this case, because there's a curfew, we had to be back Sunday night at midnight. And so With me, not great with time management, especially with the spontaneity of who I am. And same thing with my friend Sean. We were like, let's gain as much time as we can with our family and friends, and we'll just map out perfectly. And so we didn't realize this as well. We also had two roommates kind of thing that also lived in Jersey. And so we were picking them up on the way down. Well, anyway, we were like, okay, we got to be back by 11:55 because you need 5 minutes, so we'll leave at 3:30 from our area. We'll get there around 4:30 to pick our dorm mates up, and then we'll head on down. That's terrible because we did not create space and time for any detours, anything messy to happen. And so exactly what happens, we get down, we pick up the two guys, and we hit Philly traffic. And then we keep going and we find detours because there was a lot of construction. And so there's never-ending construction. We all know that. And yes, we are thankful for that. But at the end of the day, not good timing for me. I want to get from A to B. And obviously, I did not set us up for success. Planning C, I drive stick shift, and so my friend and I were the only ones that knew how to drive stick, so the other two guys had no idea. So balancing driving time, it was literally between us two. Not good. So anyway, you're getting angry, getting exhausted because you're under stress. I'm in a hurry to get down to school. And I'm like, man, we're going to mess up. Our RA is going to be so mad because we're going to be past curfew and we're going to get demerits and all these things were going through my head. So sometimes you're like speeding in areas you're not supposed to. And so you're like, is a cop there? Okay, good. Kind of thing. You're in rush mode. And then something bad happened. That split in the road where it says you go left, you're going to get there on time. You go right, dum, da-dum, dum. And so that's exactly what happened with me. I wasn't focused and paying attention. Now, I want to make sure there's a disclaimer here. We didn't have phones to map out our plan, so we had paper for MapQuest or Google Maps to plan out our routes. So if you failed or made a mistake, it was really, really hard to get back on track. And unfortunately, with wisdom that my dad gave me, I did not have a physical roadmap in my car. And so all these things at the worst time, because time is now at a crunch where we're trying to make it on time, I take the wrong route. I'm exhausted and tired. I'm angry and stressed out. And now I realize I just went 2.5 hours the wrong way. Yeah, that's great. And so all of a sudden I realize that. I tell the guys, because they're all sleeping on me. And I'm like, come on, guys, stay up for me. Well, anyway, I'm like, I went the wrong way. So we turn around. And there was a point where obviously we passed the curfew. We weren't even there yet. And so I tap my best friend who's right beside me. He is out. And so it's 3 a.m. I'm exhausted. And so I tap him and I go, it's your turn. I was so mad because I just was been driving. And he just looked at me and goes, I'll not be safe for us, guys. I won't be safe. And he just goes right back to sleep. And then I punched him in the face. I didn't. But that was literally like what I wanted to do at that moment because I was so frustrated. And just to kind of get through the story, we did get there at 6 a.m. Our RA was so gracious, even though he was frustrated at us. But the point was, we were in a hurry. We didn't set ourselves up for a successful process. And even if those mishaps and things happened, we would have been on time if we would have set ourselves up for the win. I mean, can any of you relate? Have you ever been in a hurry for doing something or wanting to be somewhere? Or any of you try to get on to church on time and not get there? Okay. Any of you miss or get late to school? Some of you like that. Okay. How many of you getting maybe a homework assignment in late? Anybody relate to that? Yeah. Okay. How about a sport when you're supposed to be on time, warming up with the team, and the coach is like, "Where is Joe?" Yeah? Any of you miss out on that? Okay. I'll tell you this. This isn't just a personal problem. This is across our Western culture, meaning the U.S. of A. This is a big deal. Time and time again, always in a hurry, always in plan of doing something next. We're always trying to get somewhere to the next thing. And so I really believe within our heart, we're not wanting to live the hurried life. but there's something always pulling us to be in an urgent formality. I want to make another disclaimer that there is moments of urgency. Specifically, we talk about our personal services, whether it's the medical, the EMTs, or firefighters or policemen. Like, their life or their job is on a hurry schedule because it's always reactionary. And there are moments in your life where that's going to happen. But I want to kind of just say something right out the door. Hurry cannot be a lifestyle. It's not sustainable. It can't be. It's not sustainable for you and for me. We weren't made to be like that. And when I think of an example of like how to take care of ourselves, you look at a car and, a brand new car, it's fresh condition and it's doing really great. But then over time, you have to keep taking care of it. You got to get its oil changed. You got to get its tires rotated. You have to maybe put air in your tire. You have to get new tires, or you have to change your brakes, or maybe the check engine light comes on. And the list goes on. And if you avoid or push back over time, it's not going to work. And to keep that car sustainable for a long, long time, it takes you to put time into it, to invest in it. There's a quote. Some of the staff from Fellowship and I have been reading this book from John Mark Comer, and he says this quote: "Hurry kills all that we hold dear." Hurry kills all that we hold dear. It kills relationships. It kills our health. It kills our creativity. It kills our generosity. It kills fill in the blank for you. Hurry kills. And I really believe that, because at the end of the day, hurry and love are incompatible. Say this with me: incompatible. 1, 2, 3. Incompatible. One more time: incompatible. Hurry and love are incompatible. They don't work. Oil and vinegar it doesn't work. And one thing I want to be very clear: hurry doesn't have time for love. It just doesn't. It doesn't make space for love. I was literally coming on my way back, coming in, getting ready to go, prepared for this talk. And I was kind of walking really fast, to the FSM space. And I saw a guy and I was like, "Hey, hi." And I had to pause myself and take a big deep breath and say, "No, maybe I should talk to him. Everything else will be there, but let me go." And so he and I had a conversation. We literally were talking about hurry, and it was just so cool to see that God paused my life for a moment to say, "You're always in a hurry, Coert. Where are you going?" And so that was something that I just took a big deep breath as I was ready to talk about this tonight, that I was like, man, just walk. Jesus was the greatest example of this. Right? We talk about, okay, great, stress, busyness. What do I do with this? How do I maybe exit this out of my life? Or how do I get a better life out of this? And so Jesus was a great example of this. He took time to be with people. He cared for them. He listened to them. He healed them. He walked with them. He listened and he cried and laughed. He did all the things with people that we sometimes say we don't have time for. I don't think we would actually admit that, say, "Oh, no, I would totally hang out with that person." But in reality, we actually don't have time. We're pulled in so many different directions. See, he saw that we were caring, and even in the stories of Jesus, he saw that men and women were carrying different weights. Weights of isolation, weights of loneliness, weights of this desire for unhealthy approval, this weight of self-righteousness. See, tonight, as we walk through our evening, I want to make sure you hear this. What you invest your time in is the person you will become. What you invest your time in is the person you will become. And see, Jesus He was different. People saw something different about this man. And people were drawn to him. And some other people also saw something different and did not like this man because why? It challenged them to be different than who they were living like. See, there is going to be so much going on. Whether we're around or not, busyness and stress are always going to be there waiting for us. But I also believe that we add to that. The word that comes to mind is self-inflicted. Self-inflicted is this idea that we do it to ourselves, that we injure ourselves in this process. And I believe most commonly, you are the kings and queens of your own stress and busyness. Your own life, you're the king, or the queen of your own life, and you take care of your own stress and busyness. And I do understand that you have your parents looking over at your schedule and then also your schedule. You're looking over your schedule and there's a lot going on. And so when I think of this busyness and stress, here's some ideas that I think why you're too busy. One, you're spinning too many plates. I mean, imagine the acrobat who's spinning all the plates, one on a toe, one on a hand, one on a nose, one on a head. And it's just like, wow, that's amazing. And then one flickers and crashes and you're like, that stinks. That's just like, oh man, a bummer. And that happens to a lot of us, where we think we can take care of everything. We think we can cover it all, but in reality, it's too much to bear. And honestly, a lot of these things are so good. School, sports, church, clubs, work, you name it. The other one that I think a lot of us can relate to, escaping is easier. So you got spinning the plates, and escaping is easier. We don't think as busyness and stress attached to escaping. And when I say escaping, it could be Netflix, video games, social media. It's easier to be distracted than to actually go forward and fight through what we're fighting through. I know it because I have lived it even currently in my life today where it's easy to, instead of like, I don't want to talk to that person about it right now, I'd rather look at social media and just, let the stress go away. But in reality, when I stop the social media, I look back and I'm like, that's not really great. The weight just keeps getting heavier and heavier. You know what? I'll just play video games for a while. It'll help me decompress and it'll be great. And then 4 hours later, all of a sudden you get off and you're like, that was great. And all of a sudden reality hits, you're still in the same boat of where you've been. You know what? I'm just gonna veg on Netflix. I've done that before where I'm like, let's watch Friends. I'm now on episode and season 5. Wow, what just happened? And then all of a sudden you realize, wow, my day just went on. And I don't think we go at the end of the day going, man, I feel great about myself. No, it just comes back to that mindset of everything that we've left to escape from is still there. Stress and busyness will always be there. And we need to slow down and rest. And I want to make sure you hear this. Resting and escaping are two different things. That's not the same thing. Escaping is isolating. Resting is solitude. I want to kind of read from Matthew 11 there. I'm going to talk a little bit about the full chapter of Matthew 11, but then I'm going to kind of show the scriptures from 25 to 30 as you follow there. But I want to kind of preset for you guys so we understand the importance of why we need to press in on stress and busyness. And so to kind of just give you the beginning side of things, in chapter 11, Jesus is kind of doing his thing. He's walking, and John the Baptist, the guy who what we call paving the way for Jesus, is in prison because he's living for Jesus. And so because of that, the government was like, you can't do that. Get in there. You're in jail. Excuse me. And so then all of a sudden, because John had been just doing great leadership and mentoring other men, he sends his other guys and says, go find this man named Jesus and ask him, are you the real deal? Are you it? And so that's exactly what the men did. So they go and find Jesus and they say, hey, Jesus, John wants to know if you're the real deal. Are you it? If not, we need to keep looking for the guy. And so Jesus says this. I love this. It's so good. He says, go back to John and tell him this. The blind can see now. The lame walk. Those with leprosy are cured. The deaf can hear. The dead are raised to life. And the good news is being preached to the poor. And he added, God blesses those who do not fall away because of me. And I love this because Jesus basically responds to these men. He's like, yes, I am the guy. Now go tell John. So that's part of the story. And then he shifts and he goes and he starts talking to crowds around who keep following him. And he goes, there's this guy named John. He's the best in the game. He's awesome. He's amazing. So he even in the midst of John having mistrust that Jesus is the real deal, he says, John is the best. This man has paved the way so that I can come in this world and show you what true love is, true hope is, what real life is. And so when Jesus talks about that, he goes into Act 2 in this part of the chapter, and he goes and he's talking to different cities and churches, and he says, you know what's crazy? I've done amazing things in your cities. I've healed people. I've raised people from the dead. I've loved people who people don't love at all. I brought hope. And you as a city, you as a church, don't even recognize this. Even the churches and cities back in the Old Testament, if I were there, they'd still be here today. And so he basically calls out some of these cities and says, you guys don't get it because you don't trust in me because you're so focused on your way. So 2 times, John the Baptist is so focused on his way. He wants it to be Jesus' way, but he's now brought, I don't know if I trust this. I got to go ask just to make sure. And then you have these cities who have seen miraculous things about Jesus, and yet they don't trust him. And I love this because it then shifts to this. He has not an anger, but a stern conversation. And then he says some powerful things, and I want you to follow with me on verse 25. And it says this. At that time, Jesus prayed this prayer, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, thank you for hiding these things from those who think themselves wise and clever, and for revealing them to the childlike. Yes, Father, it pleased you to do it in this way. And so it's this idea that people didn't have trust. They didn't have faith in this Jesus. Their way was better. They were focused on that. And Jesus was trying to make it clear that, man, faith like a mustard seed will move mountains. Doing all this religious stuff, doing good things is not going to get you there. Doing all this busybody work that causes stress level to a high, it's not going to get you there. It's not going to reconnect you with God. And so Jesus then follows with this, and I love it. In verse 27 and through 30, he says, my Father has entrusted everything to me. No one truly knows the Son except the Father, and no one truly knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. He was literally saying, you want to know me, you got to know God. If you want to know God, you got to know me. We're in relationship together, and if you want to know us, you got to be in relation with us. And I love this. That Jesus said, come to me, all who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. We'll talk about that in a second. And let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. And so when I look at this, Jesus, he reminds us of this. Time is valuable. You can't get it back. And what you invest your time in is the person you will become. And so Jesus invites his audience, he invites you, he invites me to bring our attention to him. He invites us to come, to take, and to learn. Come all who have a lot they are carrying. Anybody who's carrying weight on your back. And I know this with a doubt. Matter of fact, you guys are carrying more weight than any other student population in the past. You guys are carrying so much weight. And here's the deal, you think you're alone, and you're not. Jesus calls you to him and he says, come to me. I have something better for you. Your way, your only way, or people who think they have the way is not the best way. And then he says, take my yoke. It's easier because instead of you doing it by yourself, I will partner with you. This idea of yoke, the definition of yoke, I want you to guys hear this for me. When you're tilling the ground as a farmer, and they still even do it to this day, but there is a huge wooden plank. It's what they call a yoke, and it curls and it has two circles. And the two animal bullheads or whatever, will go in there and pull the ground to bring up the ground. And so he's saying, don't do it by yourself. Let me partner with you. He's not saying that there's never going to be a burden you're going to not carry. He's saying that when you do, let me be with you. Let me take care of it for you. And then I love this. He says, and I want to teach you. And so this idea of learning to trust in Jesus more and more, because it's a process. You don't just all of a sudden, boom, done, it's all over. No, it's a process over time. He knows that. A relationship takes time to build trust. You don't all of a sudden look at somebody and say, I trust them 100%. And when we do that in our lives and someone burns us, it kind of throws us back a little bit to not throw our trust out there right away. And so Jesus is saying, trust in me, one day at a time. One day at a time. Come, take, learn. I love this. In John 14:6, it says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. In who or what or where do you put your identity in, guys? FSM, what does that look like for you? There's this incredible being. I can't talk about his story too much because we don't have time, but his name's Ben Bennett. He's a man who is doing great things right now in just this purity mindset in this world. And so he had been addicted to pornography since he was a child. And so he's been relieved of that. God has saved him and cleaned his heart in purity for 8 years. He's been sober. And so he said some incredible words here, and I want you to hear this. He says, some things are loved because they are valuable, while other things are valued because they are loved. So I'm going to call up the band, and I want to kind of press into that. Let me say that one more time. Some things are loved because they are valuable, while other things are valued because they are loved. The difference is this. Hey, man, you're a good athlete. Hey, you're really smart. Oh, you're really attractive. People will love you because you have a valuable asset. But Jesus loves you because he sees value in who you are. He places value in your life saying, you don't have to do anything different. I love you, you're amazing. I made you, you're amazing. But yet our world around us, even our peers, our teachers or coaches or whoever, they look at you and they say, what do you have to offer? You're good at it as an athlete? I love you now, dude. You're good you're smart student? Okay, great. you're gonna lead our student body. And so the value that you're placed on is because of what you do. That's not what Jesus says. He says your value is based on how his love is for you. I want to tell you something, a big, big lie. The lie that I've heard for all my life is slow is bad, fast is good. I'll tell you right now, slow is not bad. Slow is good. Fast is bad. We talked about it last year, and before we kind of closed the semester, we talked about what it looked like to be in the kingdom of God. I want to tell you this. To be in God's kingdom, you cannot live in the kingdom of God if you're in a hurry. It goes against everything God had called us to. It goes against everything that God has led us to be. Escaping, remember, it's not resting. So my application, it's as simple as this. And it's simple words, but they're really, really hard probably for some of us. And I'm gonna give you 3 applications. And some of you, you're gonna be like, whoa, that's a pretty big step. So I encourage you, if you can't step into the 3, try 2. If you can't step into 2, try 1. Just do 1. So I want you to try it this week. Number 1, say no to something, even if it's good. Some of you might be hanging out with your friends every night and recognize mom and dad are like, hey, you need to be home doing homework. And so you feel this tension and this energy between your parents and your friends, and really you should say no. You're like, you know what, guys, let's hang out Saturday. Let's do a big bonfire, but right now I need to do some homework on Monday. Say no to something, even if it's good. Maybe it is stepping out off of a sport team and saying, man, this is taking control of my life. I don't control it, it controls me. Say no to something. It's hard. Number 2, no more comparing your life to others. I know that's a hard one, guys, and you're like, well, I don't really do that. Let's be honest. On Instagram, when I take a look on Instagram, I'll even swipe, and after 30 minutes, I'm like, there's no way in my life I'm like, man, that refreshed me. That was so good. No, usually I swipe, and stop and go, man, they are just so much cooler than I. They have 2,000 more likes than my 90. They have 3 million followers and I have 1,000. Who cares? God doesn't care. So why do we? It's that approval or identity falls into that. And that number 3, limit your escape times. I'm good with Netflix. I'm good with social media. I'm great, I'm great with video games. It's awesome. Or whatever those escape mechanisms are for you. But I ask you to limit your time. Put a limit on it. So whatever one you can relate to, and even the one that feels a little like, oh, that's too hard, do that one. Challenge yourself. Take one of those and try it this week. Guys, God's called us to him. We don't have to live in a stressful life. There's going to be a lot of stress and busyness, but we don't have to live in that all the time. He calls us to rest in him. We need rest. Hurry is not sustainable. I want to remind you, what you invest your time in is the person you will become. I'm going to ask you guys to stand and we'll pray as we lead back into worship. Jesus, I pray for every student in this room right now, whether a student is here for the first time or a student who has been coming here regularly for the past 2 years. And so I just pray for each and every one and where they're at in their life right now. I don't know where they're at individually, but God, you do. And I pray that you just press in their heart and let them know that you offer rest. Real rest, that their identity doesn't have to be in anything other than you. That they don't have to escape to all these things around. They don't have to keep doing stuff, that they can focus their time on you, because if they would just put their attention towards you, God, wow, that's who they'll become. A follower of Jesus, the people who we're called to be. Thank you for these students. They make me laugh. They make me have a great and loving joy. They bring me life. So I thank you for each life here. In Jesus' name.